Good afternoon, dear all, or good morning, wherever you are. Uh, I have started the meeting, and with that, the recording also has started. And today is the first session of the series of sessions we have planned for ChatGPT. Again, in the first session today, we will be talking more on the overall AI, the different concepts in the AI, and setting the motion for much more deeper study into the chat GPT. So that's going to be the agenda. I hope my voice is all very clear and you all can, very well hear the voice. I will open up you all and unmute you all towards the end for any questions. While that is one option to ask the question, but you can always ask questions on the chat. So now the time is right there for us to start the presentation. Uh, Priyanshu, you are my co-presenter, so can you just do a quick unmuting yourself and tell me if you could hear all my voice, Priyanshu?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Your
yeah,
voice
just
is
speak.
clear, sir.
Yeah, perfect. So I hope you all can see the presentation which I am presenting. I'll quickly introduce myself. I am Ashish Dua, the Chief Strategy Officer for AI. While I'm a chartered accountant, have been in the IT industry for more than 30 years now, starting with the journey with Oracle ERP way back in 96, then having worked all the way in implementing enterprise solutions across different part of the world. I'm a Canadian by nationality, and then also at one point in time was the head of the IT for Microsoft India, and also led large practices for data and EPM for KPMG. And the journey now is going deeper with AI because that is where the whole magic is now happening. So it's my pleasure and honor to present today the key concepts around AI and in more detail about the chat GPT. Now, having said that, I will quickly move on to the core presentation now. Please note today the meeting quite will be quite theoretical to begin with because it's very important that some of the aspects are well understood by each one of you. There are questions which some people ask that why I am, doing more of Chat GPT. What's the difference between Chat GPT, Google search? When we hear the different models, whether it is about the DeepSeek or whether about the Google AI, Gemini, Chat GPT. So what all these things are there? So I think those things will be well answered in today's session, and that could set up a good learning ground for the future for all of you. So with that as an intention, I will move to the next slide. Again, I have already given a brief introduction of mine. I have been into hardcore IT consulting for more than 30 years now, having worked across different part of the world, having served very large organizations across the industry domain. And today in this session, I am joined by Mr. Priyanshu. He's a young uh, software engineer and doing very well on the AI space. Today, as we say that age is not the parameter for creativity, so it is not like somebody is only 58 years old will only bring the best idea forward. Anybody young also are bringing the best of the ideas, and that's the value of having a young and a senior team working together. Again, we have a strong team with the very high functional domain expertise, along with a lot of technical resources which are required to make any AI project, especially for an enterprise, very successful. Uh, Chat GPT, the way we have lined up this webinar series is basically over 10 sessions. Uh, Again, while a lot of people mentioned to me that is there really a need to have a training on ChatGPT, and my question was, my statement was that every domain has its unique use cases. Every domain has its own desire how I can benefit that. And again, while ChatGPT is just one of the models, and we'll talk about the large number of models and how ChatGPT is different from the other models, even getting to know one model extensively will give you insight as to how other model also could be working, whether it is the Gemini or whether it's the DeepSeek. So all that will become clear once you understand one model, and then in the future, adopting or tagging on to a new model will just be another, routine process for you all. And that's the reason we kept a very detailed overview of the Chat GPT over 10 sessions. We kept each session for 1 hour, just to make sure that you don't feel too much of knowledge coming at one go. Today's session is the first session. Um, Before we go deeper into Chat GPT, we'll first talk about what is AI, because sometimes people do get confused about the AI also, and I have been in the IT sector industry for pretty long time, you know, and some people say, oh, AI was earlier there also. We were doing some level of automation anyway in the past also. And that is quite true, basically. But having said that, it is also important to understand the journey of the AI. Like today, when we look at the journey, it is descriptive AI, predictive, prescriptive, and now everywhere the generative AI. So it's important to understand how things have evolved. Every day we are hearing a word called large language model, large language model. What does it really mean? And then there are related concept or similar or synonyms, the transformer, the model. We'll talk about that. And then we'll talk about the very important aspect about what are the different models in AI. Practically, if I start counting, they are running into 100. And every model has a unique strength. Every model sometimes is tuned for some specific functional domain. So we will talk about that, okay, how those models are there, why knowing a model which is why knowing what is your requirement and then what model meets your requirement. I think that's the most important task in the AI. It is not like Chat GPT will be successful in all your scenarios, or Gemini will be successful in all your scenarios. So just to get a feel of how each model is unique in its way, I think that's a very critical discussion. Now, very simple discussion: AI, artificial intelligence. It is not that the AI is a new concept. AI has been there in the past. What we have been trying to do is that, in a very simple word, whatever a human being could do, if we had the computers do that, in my own term, that would be an AI. Even if it meant then, creating a calculation or doing something. Because if I physically did a 2 plus 2 is equal to 4, and instead of now me doing it with my mind and I am telling the computer to do it, then what are we using? We are basically mimicking or simulating the human thinking power through the computer. And that, in my term, is the AI. I couldn't be more simpler than that, and I think it's important. But definitely, human being itself has undefined potential. you know we can sing, we can dance, we can, depending upon people, somebody can memorize very fast, somebody can run very fast, somebody can, is very good in artistic work, somebody is very good in science. Now we are now reaching a stage where, for all practical purposes, we are starting to mirror this so-called human being. And I think earlier these things were dream, but I personally feel now we are very close to seeing the reality of whatever we dreamt about in the AI space. And today I'll just take another 30 seconds on the AI space is that, you can be on the two side of, there are two sides. One is as a professional, you should be the one who is able to manage the AI for the benefit of your work or for the benefit of the organization you work. Or even the fact that even if you are not working, I truly to make a statement that if English was an important attribute you had to have to live in a world where you could communicate with people, a lot of them, especially in India where there are many languages, and especially the fact that all the global work happens in English. I think AI is also as critical as now as of English because it is going to be the way we are going to run our job, we are going to do our job, we are going to communicate with people. So I think nobody is now cannot remain untouched from the AI. And that's what I think this course today is to give people without charging anything a feeler of what AI is coming forward. Now, to control this presentation, I will move to the next one. So let's talk about some of the types of the AI. And the types of the AI, one has to really understand it very well because this is will help you understand what do you mean by generative AI. Very early in my IT consulting experiences, we started reporting data and analyzing the data based on the historical data. So, for example, I will speak the finance term. If we had the data for 5 years, 6 years of the past, we started to see what was the pattern. We started to analyze the data. Have we done well? Have we doing? So we started writing algorithm to understand the past and in some form of fashion. Though today the BI word, the business intelligence word, is much bigger and much more dynamic and much more strong now. We started to call that as the BI, business intelligence. Then we moved to the next stage. We started even predicting. So now our algorithm and with the technology available like language R and things like those, we started predicting also. And with prediction, we started to take some variables which were not only within our control, which were in not only internal, which were external also. So we started to say that, okay, if my business of pharmacy has grown in the last 5 years of 5% or 7%, and now I'm seeing the growth in the uh, number of people or number of aging people, and with those factors, I started do some prediction also. But again, I was working with a set of data with this very defined algorithm which practically was being done by each organization themselves to be able to definitely with the help of the consultant to be able to predict AI. And that was also, I'm talking about the period of 2014-15 when this cycle started to happen. And then we moved to the prescriptive one. The moment we had the predictive one, we also started to prescribe. Prescribe is as good as saying a doctor prescribing a medicine to cure a disease. So, for example, if I knew that this is the past inventory I require at the different stores, And then I started predicting that seeing the seasonal festivals or something, population growing in a particular community, I may need to keep more uh, items in the store. And then I started to even go to the next level of maybe ordering the quantity or reordering the quantity to be up to that level which was being predicted, and that became the prescriptive thing. So this was again a quite a uh, good thing from a business perspective, where we started to prescribe the solution or basis the prediction of what should be done. So it's a sequence of intelligence being built: descriptive, which is past; predictive, the future; and prescriptive, action based on what is being predicted. I hope I have tried to explain in very simple words. And then the magic happened, which is now called generative AI. The very term generative means it is now creating its own data, own elements, whether it is a text, whether it is an image, whether it is an audio, whether it is a video, whether it is a software code. It is starting to generate on its own. Imagine I as a couple, or me and my wife, or any couple gave birth to to children, to children, and now we are telling the children to go to school, we are telling the children to study, and this is the kind of thing we are doing for them. And tomorrow, as that child grows and matures and get trained, let me use the word because that's a very important word in the model. So he does not need the parent support anymore now. Now they are starting to generate their own life, own content. One could be a film producer, one could be a rocket scientist. So what has happened? In AI world, these two people are now the real example of generative AI. And as I mentioned to you, that what is the AI current stands for? It is actually practically replacing or substituting, or to a very large extent now, becoming as good as a human being could be. And this is where we are talk about generative AI, starting its own journey with some basis of what it has been trained on, and starting to create more data or more content, as we call it, and starting to further use that content to further mature, and become bigger and bigger. The creator of the model beginningly, who actually initially trained, and if he allows, as we call it, unsupervised model to grow, down the line, the creator would not know how far this model has gone as far as creating the data. And that is what is called the generative AI. I had to bring this difference forward because otherwise it's generative AI we talk about every day. And if we did not know the sequence of which came from descriptive to predictive to prescriptive and then to generative, you may not be able to logically link that one. So that was the intention. Again, I will have benefit of my Mr. Priyanshu to give me a heads up as to the voice was clear and well understood. You
Yes,
may
sir.
again, okay?
Of course.
Thank you so much, Priyanshu. You are always a big help. So now, with the generative AI, I would say excellent things are happening now. We are talking about huge things. I'm a chartered accountant, so I have to bring in a financial example for sure. Today, as a finance manager, I needed to uh, do things which are like create financial statement, uh, and from the days I'm coming from, maybe I'm one of that lucky generation. I don't know whether I should call it a lucky or not, where when I completed my CA in 91, I was doing all manual accounting, even putting the entries in a big physical paper ledger and totaling the things. Then we moved on to software like Fox Pro and things like those. Then we moved on to Windows, and then we moved on to many client server architecture, then cloud, and so many things happening, and now AI. So I am lucky that I have seen a journey of computers and software evolving from those days to this date. So I personally, that's a very accomplishing and very comprehensive journey for me personally. And again, while I'm 58, expect to work for another 10 years for sure. And I don't know what is more stored in coming, but one should be ready for any surprises now. So today, with examples like I need not create my balance sheet. I need not create my P&L statement. I need not do anything of that sort. I could simply give a PDF file of something and that could be scanned and it could further generate in the format I require. Like I remember, there are times when we had to prepare a document called information memorandum, which we used to submit to an investor so that it could, invest money into our company. Now you just plug and play and you pull the data for your financial data of your company by annual report and whatever product mix you have, the customer mix you have, and then you also connect it with some universal and open source data like what is the economic growth looking like, what is the uh, if it's a product you could also link it with the weather if that product uh, production has any link to the how the environment is shaping up, and you just take sit back, relax, and the overall everything will come out. In real terms, if I had to do this job, it would take at least two or three very smart people to do the job and technically spend 1 month doing that. And I'm not going to give you a shock, but today, if the right model has been built, this whole job could be done in next less than half an hour. That's the impact. You know, medical area, huge thing. I'd give a very funny example to people, and I will take liberty to give here also. Anybody who becomes a doctor might have passed an exam at a let's say 60%. So in real term, that person did not know about the 40% aspect. So, and from a doctor perspective, you may imagine that's quite scary that the doctor did not know 40% of what was taught to him. And tomorrow, if you are the one of the patient and he has to handle, and you are one of that case which comes in that 40%, God bless you. So today, if I, give all the 5 years of theory of that medical education to that model. I give years of prescriptions against or diagnosis against a lot of diseases to this model. And then I also give the whole load of medicines and everything. We could easily create a model which maybe I will strict my word, may not replace a doctor, but at least it could be a very strong assisting the doctor. And imagine places, I was in Africa recently and a lovely place, dancing all my way in Nigeria, I love the way people interacted, every moment I could have, I was dancing on the floor with them. So if there was a teacher who was hesitant to go to one location because most of the time people wanted to go to US to make more money, I'd foresee myself that in 5 years down the line, you could be having a robot sitting somewhere in the jungles, teaching the villagers in a very interactive way. And I think that situation is not far away. So that's where I would call it some of the examples of the generative AI. And again, I hope now the word generative could be very clear and you should not just follow it blindly. You should know that it came from series of technology changes with descriptive, predictive, prescriptive, and now generative. I'm first focusing on some very common terms and examples so that when we dig deeper into the chat GPT, these concepts will stay with you forever. And trust me, these concepts are not have to be understood at least once. So it's worth spending 35 minutes, 40 minutes, or 1 hour on these concepts. LLM. So this is a term you will hear so many times now. Now, what does it really means? It, I would try to define in a very simple way. Let's first read the English of what is written there. Large language model. Large word comes from the fact that now we are talking about something which has huge database, huge information. And there is an intelligence system which has been used, has been trained, or has been equipped to use that data. And when I say use that data, we are talking about creating linkages between the different data points or elements and being able to analyze, relate, correlate, interrelate, whatever terms you may call it. And sometimes in the chat GPT world, that are also called the parameters. And being able to have relate that whole thing and help somebody who is trying to understand that data or that volume of data or is trying to get a task done through that. So this is where we talk about the large language model. For example, if there was a huge database which had volume of data, which had all the attribute of a cat, how a cat works, behaves, and so many things about cat. And then it also had the data for music system like piano, voluminous data. And now somebody out of nowhere wants to write a story. And we call it a prompt as a query. And again, we'll talk about prompt engineering very well, very important element. They write a short story about a cat who learns to play the piano. For all technical reasons, physically you don't see that, but it's a wild request. So what would have happened? with that huge knowledge and the data available, and with the best of the capability of the LLM, depending upon how the model was updated, it came out with a story. So it did not disappoint you. It may be played on some information of the piano, some information of the cat, some general information, some element of, drama, flavor of sunlight, evening. At the end of the day, it did create a story. And so this is what we talk about the LLM. For example, there was a huge, humongous data on the finance side, or huge data on the agriculture side. So what is we are trying to do? We are trying to create an intelligent system which gets trained on that data and then start to help with the queries which we are asking in order to maybe do a task, in order to maybe understand, or whatever the operation could be. And that is what is called the LLM. In simple example, if I request my wife to make me a cup of tea, now for me that's an ask. But behind what will my wife do? She has to look around the whole of the kitchen. She must have the availability of tea, sugar, cup, spoon, biscuits, and whole lot of other things. And then she would come back, and well, on a very day when she's very nice to me, she will put a tea along with the biscuits on my table. So that wife on that particular moment has acted like a large language model for me. Going out, looking at what is the available data input has, and helping me with the output what I requested. And my prompt at that time would be, please help me with a cup of tea. That's a prompt. And the response was, here's the tea, here's the biscuit, here's the cookie. And maybe my wife knew that I love cookies, I love cake, I love something. And that's the whole, in a very simple example of what the LLM means. Mr. Priyanshu, anything you want to add, or do you think that was sufficient at this stage of simplicity?
Yes, sir, of course.
It was decent enough to understand LLM?
Yes, sir.
Very nice. Thanks for keeping me motivated by saying yes to my things. Now, coming back. So, LLM, across the business operations, across the not only business, personal stuff, everything is being done through LLM now. As a matter of fact, it become, writing a letter, writing an email, writing your profile, resume. These are simple things. Creating a presentation, creating if I say write a 1,000 word story on this thing, or this is 1,000 page book and give me the summary of this book in 500 words. Practically, everything is being done. And that's where the scary part comes now, that it is truly, truly replacing the manpower requirement in any organizations or in any job. Like many jobs or many roles, like a secretary, like all those things, trust me, they are up for a challenge now. Today, I don't need anybody to write a letter for me. I don't need anything, even at the fact that lot of usage of tools is changing now. Like people are now stopped using Google search and starting to use more of LLM. People have started to use less of Excel and more of this. For example, if I want to know the net present value of the future cash flows, I would just give it in the one of the models and get the output. Why do I need to even learn or format that formula in the Excel now? Business intelligence. Like today, I could go from the world universe to a smallest, you know, region, community, village to figure out how many people live there, what language they speak, what is produced there, because maybe I'm supported by large database which already has that information. So, you know, so BI, business intelligence, earlier we used to have data warehouses. We used to, the only BI definition from us, whatever we could plug in or we could bring in into our system. But now I think everybody is revisiting their business intelligence dimensions or capabilities now, because life is just so much gone and exponentially so wide in length and breadth of the exposure now. Now, so I am taking the sequence. We talk about generative AI, we talked about LLM, and now we talk about AI model. AI definitely starts for artificial intelligence. So, what has happened now? What has happened is that now people across the world have started to build models which has humongous data supporting them. And one can build its own model, but definitely it's a very intensive job. It's not like on the go you can build it. You need some good amount of coordination, planning, where to get the data or create the data, things like those. And then the train the data, the test the data. So all those things become part. So companies like Google, companies like OpenAI have taken huge lead. And I think somewhere they had the benefit because let's say Google already had so much of data. Like we have been using Google search for such a long time, Gmail, there's so much to Google Map. And what has been Google doing there at the back end? Collecting data. And now this data, and we used to call the word data is the new oil, has become now a base for them to create models. While I make the statement, the models, selection of the model for what use case you have is one of the most important thing in your AI journey. So one thing you have to understand, and which has to be very well understood, that one model may not suffice or may not be helpful for all your use cases. So don't think ChatGPT is the only AI for you. There are certain things Google AI Cloud can do, which maybe ChatGPT cannot do to that extent, and vice versa. Similarly, there are other models which are starting there. So globally, all companies, whether it is, again, I repeat, Google, OpenAI, Amazon, you know, China-based DeepSeek is the company called Highflyer. Everybody is going deeper into this thing now, creating models, because this will ride the growth of their economy, of whatever they will do. Because tomorrow you might be sitting in a cafe and across the table you might have a physical robot sitting across you, and you may not even notice whether that's a real man or person or not. So this so AI again model a number of huge. We will now touch base on some of the models which are there. So one model is by the Google AI, which is called the BERT, which is bidirectional encoder representation form transformers. Encoder, decoder are some of the technical terms, or transformers are the technical terms which was used by the people who are deeply involved in this whole process. But it's not a rocket science. I'm a chartered accountant, read through it well. I think once or twice read of a good document on transformers will give you a good overview of encoder and decoder if you want to go to that extent. But for example, this particular model is used a lot by the lawyers, where if you have 1,000 page of judgment and you wanted to summarize that, so it's a as we call it, a good form text to text kind of a situation. GPT, which is now also called the Chat GPT, is a version which is being built by OpenAI. This gentleman was in news uh, quite often now. Uh, and again, this model is really and today we will go deeper into Chat GPT. Couple of things from an informational perspective, which is I think important, is that some of the organizations like Microsoft is using OpenAI quite extensively to support their uh, features like Copilot, Bing. So again, and while I'm sharing this knowledge, because maybe you have to keep an eye on what models may ride the show in the long run. So this is one clue that Microsoft is has a deep partnership with OpenAI, and even OpenAI had a recent partnership with Oracle and SoftBank to open up data centers jointly. And again, data center which basically host large, huge amount of processing power and storage power. I think those are one of the fundamental requirement of a very good extensive uh, AI model. So, and I also like to touch on that, between Google search and Chat GPT, there's some confusion. Somebody asked me. So as I say that there are times when Google search will give you a link for a query, but while Chat GPT will give you the direct answers. ChatGPT is more conversational because it is like engaging with you. You ask a question, and once it answered, it will further say, "Do you want the next level of detail?" So it's kind of conversational, while uh, Google search is very contextual. You made the thing they gave, but no more further there. Uh, you can even make the chat GPT personalized to your style, profession, need. Because if a student asks a question or a lawyer asks a question, you can the same question asked by two different roles could be the output could be different. Um, while Google is search and browse, because once you search, it gives you, and then you keep on going down the browser to see what all has come out of that search. But Chat GPT, it's a generative AI, can also create. So you can tell to, okay, you may upload a textual file and say, okay, make a presentation out of that. And uh, and again, that thing are definitely not possible in the Google search. So this I because some people did mention to me, I use more of Chat GPT than Google search now. So I thought it would be a good idea to bring this point also forward. And then Google Gemini. Again, Google Gemini is a very leading model now. Actually, Google has the advantage, is should be credited that they in 2017 this whole model of AI got a shot in the arm with Google coming out with this technology concept called transformer. So transformer, some people use transformer equal to LLM or model, whatever you may call it. But the fact is, this invention of concept around transformer was the biggest boost to the generative AI, and that is what happened in 2017. Again, whether to use Google Gemini or ChatGPT, I think you can type in the ChatGPT itself the difference, and it will clearly list down what are the difference which are there and what should be used for what purpose. And I will not go deeper into that. We are just left with 15 minutes. And then DeepSeek, which is the China answer to building its own independent models. Again, it has been in news very much. A lot of developers or people who are into the AI space speaks high about it. But some of the regulatory and the compliant geopolitical risk that okay, China being a country where sometimes things come out that they are spying on you and things like those. Um, so whether your data is safe or not, again, those will be regular discussion going on. But there are means in the AI development and IT development where you can secure your data and through a concept called RAG. But I think we'll talk about that's a much larger and bigger discussion. And as I was mentioning to you, there are large number of models, like if you there are website like Hugging Face and where all those models are listed. And you can even type, let's say you go to Hugging Face as it's a website, it's a collation of lot of models. And you can ask, okay, I am doing this thing, what model will be better for me? And it will give you the suggestions. So you can start that journey there also. But the key element which I wanted to show was that this is not only about ChatGPT AI, it's all about so many things in life. And again, prompt engineering. I did tell you in the beginning that there was an example I gave where I said, I write a prompt and something comes out of by the use of the LLM. So, how do you write a prompt is also very important. On a very lighter note, if I go back to my earlier example, if I was requesting my wife to make a tea, I have to be very sensitive about how do I make that request. So I would, use a sentence. Go ahead. So, so you have to be very sensitive about how do you think. So similarly, there is a some golden rules while writing your request, and you have to give a context, like what are you trying to do or what you want to do. Define role, in what role you are trying to get this thing done. Try to put an output, okay, please give me this in Excel, PDF, tabular, columnar. And also if it's a multitask, first do this, then for example write an essay of 1000 word and then create a 50-word summary. And then also you can control the tone, like this is for a formal presentation to board of directors, or this is for to Gen Z kind of a thing. So once you think through that, then basically even the computer or the software as we call it or the model as we call it most precisely will be able to give you a very good input. And again, these are some of the examples about how some of the prompts were good or poor, and how could be done. But again, we are going to do a live show now. Um, so again, as I mentioned to you, ChatGPT is the one which we started, will be talking in this session and the next 8 to 9 session, where we'll bring up so many use cases. This particular slide presents a view of how this so-called GPT, from GPT to ChatGPT, the things have happened. A lot of things have also changed in this whole process. A lot of new functionality. For example, initially from text to text, now text, image, video to text. So these things are continuously evolving now. And today, and again, as I mentioned, that Google introduced transformer architecture, and that was kind of, I would call, a landmark in generative AI explosion, as I would call it. Having said that, again, this is where we are. The GPT-5, which was launched on 7th of August 2025, it had its own share of some criticism, some positivity, but that's fine. But having said that, these are some of the highlights of the Chat GPT, uh, which has been there. Again, uh, there are certain paid versions which are there. There are certain technical terms which are written, but just to quickly say, quicker answers. It is able to take a large documents now. I could practically give a full book for them to analyze and give me the summary of that book, and that could be given in, like, say, PDF format, for example. Just upload the book, like, you know imagine the power. And again, improve processing of images, audio, video input. you know you could put up a picture of yours, and then you can say, okay, show me this guy as singing a song, or write a song on this. So all is now becoming like, with the drag, with a click of a mouse. And the overall conversational experience is increasing a lot. See, it's not about chatting, it's about the exponential benefit of this kind of a strength, where imagine you could create a complete replica of a human being to be a good teacher. So this is what you have to understand, how this is, if you look at it from a very micro perspective, or this is chatting. No, tomorrow it could replace a teacher. It could replace, you know like, tomorrow you get your test done, medical test done, the report comes out, and you are engaging with maybe kind of some robotic doctor. I don't know, but that, I mean, again, there are laws, regulation which has to be, also has to keep in line whether something told by the computer how much should be acceptable or not. But the journey has not only started, the journey is now maturing. And now the accuracy also has increased up, because these models are continuously getting trained. And when we say train, they are being, told to update themselves in case, if there's a, if you remember, when you go to Chat GPT, and which will show you right now, whenever an outcome comes out, it asks for you whether did you like it or not, and it's like rewarding or penalizing the system. And if you say no, at the back end, it has now taken a hint that it need to further train itself, so that next time this thumbs down become thumbs up. Okay. So having said that, now I think I will stop sharing. And my dear, though this is only 7 minutes left, but I hope this session would have helped you to understand the AI journey. Where does ChatGPT stand in line with or competition with other models? Why one model is not the only answer to the AI need? So all those things have to be understood. Now I will request my dear young person Priyanshu to quickly come show his screen and show some good things on ChatGPT. Over
Again,
to you.
hello,
Yeah.
Again, hello everyone. Thank you for joining today's session. In the next, I guess 10 minutes, I will be giving you the live demo of ChatGPT. Think of this session like a quick tour to see how ChatGPT can switch from being a teacher to a creative writer to a business assistant to a coding partner, all in real time. I'll be sharing my screen now.
Go ahead, Priyanshu. I am putting myself on mute now.
Yes, sir. Oh, let's start. I will ask ChatGPT to explain artificial intelligence to a 10-year-old, but using a fun analogy. Oh, as you can see, this shows how it can change its explanation depending on who you are talking to. Its answer shows how a normal kid of a age 10 year can understand AI. Of course, artificial intelligence is a big term, but to normalize the definition, this is what AI gives to me. But if I ask to give me for a PhD student, then it will give me a harder definition with a more technical terms, with an AI level. This is what a definition AI gives. It really shows how, depending on the behavior, it changes the answer. It's basically what we are saying is a chat model, which is a generative AI, as my sir has already uh, taught you about. Now let's. This was a basic Q&A example and explanation. Now let's ahead and see the second demo of creative writing. I will ask ChatGPT to write a very short story, exactly 50 words, about a robot learning to be a human. This shows us the creativity and precision of how generative AI give us answers. This is what a 50-word story given by a ChatGPT. Now let's switch to business productivity. I will now ask ChatGPT to let's switch to a workplace scenario. Imagine you need a politely decline a meeting request, but still suggest other times. Can this way ChatGPT can quickly draft a professional email that save times. I can also make it shorter for a busy executive. Watch how it changes the tone and length instantly. As you can see, the ChatGPT draft the email even with an example. If I also give it the date and time and recipient name, the email will be fully polished to draft and send it to the sender. What I will do next is show you the technical coding example of ChatGPT. For technical users, ChatGPT can help with coding. Let's say I have a sales data in a CSV file and I want a bar chart of a monthly revenue. Instead of writing the code myself, I can ask ChatGPT to generate it. This way, a coder or a technical person can save a lot of time without searching for too much data. Of course, we need the knowledge of programming and coding. A basic coding and programming knowledge can help a lot to discover more. As ChatGPT can really help us to know what we are finding, what data we need, and revenue. As you can see, it gives me the code for bar chart and also giving me the structured CSV format I should put in this code. Now let's quickly move ahead and see the fifth demo of problem solving and analysis. As we are seeing the demo of problem solving and analysis. AI isn't just for writing or coding. It can also analyze problem. Imagine a company website traffic drops 40% in 1 month. I will ask ChatGPT for possible causes that what steps we could take to investigate. As it's giving me suggestions to first consider search engine algorithms update, technical issues, tracking analytics misconfiguration, control removable for updates, and other things. This way, I can quickly analyze and do ROI on the issue. I can ask to put in a table format to make it easy and share with team. As you can see how ChatGPT is giving me this in a table format, I can quickly send it to the QAN team and solve the issue. Now let's see the sixth demo of role playing. How AI can role play. How AI can role play. Finally, let's took a role playing. ChatGPT can act as an interviewer to help you prepare for a job. I will ask it to be an interviewer for a marketing manager role. Ask me question and then give me feedback on my answer. This source ChatGPT can be interactive like a coach or trainer, not just a tool that gives static answer. I have now get my questions, I can answer them, then get a feedback, and on that feedback, I can learn more about it. ChatGPT can be a great mentor and learner if you really use its full potential. Now, that was all for the demo from my side, and all that brings us to the end of our demo. In just a short time, we show how ChatGPT can explain concept at different levels, create stories with precision, write professional emails, generate code, analyze business problem, and even role play as an interview. The big takeaway is this: ChatGPT is not just a question answer tool, it's a flexible assistant that can adapt to your needs, whether you are a student, a professional, or a developer. I hope these examples gave you idea on how you might use it in your own work. Thank you so much for joining today's
Perfect.
session,
Thank
and
you.
I
Yeah.
will
Thank you.
be
Yeah. Prashanshu, thank you so much. Now, again, what is most important is for us to determine the use cases. And this is where, as we mentioned, just give me the screen
I want
back.
to
Yeah. So the point I wanted to make was that now in our upcoming sessions, we will now walk through the different use cases for each, how, whether it is for the next one is for education and learning, then for business growth, marketing and social media. So we will touch all. And I truly feel, my dear all lovely friends, spending 1 hour on each of these sessions is a good investment. And we look forward remaining working with you over this period of sessions. And please feel free to send your feedback to us. This is the email ID which we have, ashish.dua@nippondata.com. This is the mobile, this is on the WhatsApp. If your organization needs any help or you need any help, please feel free to send an email or send a WhatsApp. So with that, I conclude this. And again, because we have just overshot the time, you can always send your questions on this email ID and we will be more than happy to reply or even answer those questions in our next session, which is planned for next Friday. Till then, enjoy your weekend. God bless you, and and our best wishes for each one of you. And people who have joined from Nigeria, I tell you, I really love Nigeria. I just had the best of my time. And thanks for joining. I hope we meet very soon again. God bless you all. And with that, I am ending the event now.